In a dimly lit shack, a solitary figure lies bound, trembling as the sound of distant laughter and clinking chains echoes through the night. This chilling scene is not from a horror film. It's a terrifying glimpse into a chapter of American history that many would prefer to forget. Welcome to a journey through the dark corridors of slavery, a brutal system where countless black men, women, and children faced unimaginable punishments. Today, we will explore the harrowing methods of control and anguish used to instill fear and maintain power over enslaved people. As we talk about the painful realities of the lives of black slaves, prepare to confront the raw, horrifying truth of human cruelty. This story is not for the faint-hearted, but it must be told to honor those who endured unimaginable suffering. The iron muzzle. Consider a mask, not for disguise or celebration, but a cruel device made from iron to silence and dehumanize. Known as the iron muzzle, this brutal contraption was locked onto the faces of slaves accused of speaking too freely or consuming unauthorized food. The muzzle's harsh metal edges would cut into their flesh, causing painful sores, infections, and relentless agony. The muffled cries of those who wore it served as a chilling reminder to others. Silence was a means of survival. In the intense southern heat, the iron mask became a tool of suppression. For women accused of gossiping, or men who dared to voice discontent, this was the punishment that usually awaited them. They couldn't speak, and eating without great difficulty was nearly impossible. In his autobiography, writer and abolitionist Olaudah Equiano recounts his initial encounter with such a device in the mid-1700s. As he entered the house, he saw a black woman slave preparing dinner, heavily burdened with various iron contraptions. A particular one on her head clamped her mouth shut so tightly that speaking was almost impossible, and she was unable to eat or drink. Equiano was deeply horrified and amazed by this device, later learning it was referred to as the dreaded iron muzzle. Enduring this while laboring under the scorching sun, every movement caused the iron to press harder against the already inflamed skin. The constant, grinding pain served as a cruel warning, ensuring that those who witnessed its effects thought twice before speaking out of turn or taking a morsel of food not given to them. The iron mask wasn't just a punishment. It was a tool of terror designed to break the spirit and enforce absolute obedience through sheer suffering. The iron collar. In the unforgiving heat of southern plantations, the iron collar was another harrowing instrument of torment. This heavy iron ring was locked around the necks of black slaves deemed troublemakers or defiant enough to run. Attached to the collar were metal spikes or bells that clattered loudly, ensuring that any movement drew attention and escape was almost impossible. In a book about his escape from American slavery, Moses Roper describes the use of this oppressive device. Iron horns affixed to the back of a slave's neck, extending several feet in height, with bells attached. He referred to this harrowing contraption as an instrument of torture. The weight of the collar caused severe pain and injury over time, pressing into the skin and muscles, leading to infections. For those forced to wear it, the iron collar was more than a physical burden. It was a symbol of their subjugation, a daily reminder of their status as property. The thumbscrew. Among the many insidious instruments of punishment used against enslaved individuals, the thumbscrew stood out for its sheer cruelty. This small yet brutal device consisted of a metal clamp designed to crush the fingers or thumbs of its victims. The pain was excruciating, as the screw pressed down on bones and nerves with each turn, causing unimaginable damage. Slaves accused of theft or defiance often faced this gruesome punishment. Overseers would tighten the screws slowly, savoring the cries of pain from their victims. The physical damage was significant. Bones could be broken and nerves could be permanently damaged, leaving the victim with lasting injuries and chronic pain. As recently as the mid-18th century, Olaudah Equiano, in his autobiography, The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano, recorded the use of thumbscrews as a method to torture slaves. During the same era, Thomas Clarkson utilized thumbscrews as part of his advocacy against the slave trade, and later for the emancipation of slaves in the British Empire. Clarkson aimed to, and successfully did, evoke empathy by showcasing this and other instruments of torture used on slaves. The thumbscrew was not just a method of punishment. it was a means of instilling fear and maintaining control. The sight of someone's fingers crushed and mangled served as a stark warning to others. The relentless, throbbing pain and the potential for permanent damage were designed to break the spirit as much as the body. The pitchfork. The pitchfork, a seemingly ordinary farming tool today, served a much sinister purpose during slavery. This common farming tool, repurposed as a weapon of punishment, inflicted deep, painful wounds on its victims. The sharp tines were used to stab or prod, causing injuries that were slow to heal and prone to infection. The pitchfork's use was both practical and symbolic. It demonstrated the overseer's complete control over their human property, turning everyday tools into instruments of violence. For those on the receiving end, it represented the constant threat of pain and the impossibility of escaping the brutality of their existence. Facing this instrument, knowing that the overseer's slightest whim could lead to another jab, another wound, the pitchfork was a constant reminder of the overseer's power to inflict pain at any moment, using whatever means necessary. The smokehouse. Envision a small, dark building filled with thick, acrid smoke. This was the smokehouse, not for smoking meat, but a place where slaves were punished by being locked inside and subjected to intense smoke inhalation. The process was suffocating, as the victims struggled to breathe in the smoke-filled air, their lungs burning and their vision blurring from the toxic fumes. Formerly enslaved William W. Brown recounted that this was a prevalent practice in Virginia. He described a slave owner who would have his slaves tied up and whipped in the smokehouse, then ignite a fire with tobacco stems to asphyxiate and smoke the slaves as an additional form of punishment. The smokehouse was used to punish those accused of serious offenses or repeated attempts to escape. It served as both a method of physical torture and a psychological weapon, instilling a deep fear of suffocation and confinement. The experience of being locked in the smokehouse was traumatic, often leaving victims with long-lasting respiratory issues and mental scars. The sweatbox. In the relentless heat of the southern sun, the sweatbox was another method of punishment that combined confinement with exposure. This small, enclosed box left just enough room for the victim to stand or crouch, with no space to move or stretch. Locked inside for hours or even days, the victims would endure extreme temperatures, dehydration, and claustrophobia. The sweatbox was designed to be as uncomfortable as possible, amplifying the effects of heat and lack of water. Locked in this sweltering box, your skin blistering from the heat, your throat parched from the lack of water, your muscles cramped from the inability to move. The sweatbox wasn't just a form of physical punishment. It was a test of endurance, a way of breaking the spirit through relentless, unyielding heat and confinement. The breaking wheel. Picture a large wooden wheel, its surface dotted with sharp spikes and grooves. The breaking wheel, or Catherine wheel, was used to punish enslaved individuals by tying them to the wheel and rotating it slowly, causing the spikes to tear into their flesh. Adapted from medieval torture practices, this method inflicted severe pain and was designed to disable the victim. Those subjected to the breaking wheel suffered horrific injuries. The wheel targeted the limbs, causing fractures, dislocations, and deep wounds. The slow rotation maximized pain, with each movement driving the spikes deeper. Victims often endured long-term damage, with broken bones and torn muscles, rendering them unable to work or move without significant pain. The weight chain. In the oppressive heat of the southern plantations, the weight chain served as another method of punishment that combined physical restraint with continuous torment. This heavy chain, weighted at various points, was attached to the enslaved person's body, causing constant pressure and pain. The victim would be forced to carry the chain throughout their daily tasks, with the extra weight adding to their burden. In a testimony from the 1830s, Mr. Alfred Wilkinson described his observations in New Orleans, where he stayed for 3 weeks. He noted the frequent sight of slaves passing by with iron bands secured around their ankles, chains fastened to them, and 18-pound balls attached at the end to prevent them from running. This punishment was used primarily on those accused of being too slow, failing to meet work quotas, or defiant enough to attempt an escape. The oppressive weight of this chain, its cold links digging into your skin as you labored under the relentless sun, made even the simplest tasks a grueling ordeal. The weight chain wasn't just a tool of punishment. It was a constant reminder of the overseer's power to make every moment of your existence a test of endurance and suffering. The barrel of nails. Imagine being forced into a large wooden barrel lined with sharp nails. Known as the barrel of nails, this gruesome device was used to punish slaves by confining them inside and rolling the barrel down a hill. The sharp nails tore into their body with each jolt and bump, causing severe injuries and unimaginable pain. Another account by Moses Roper talks about certain slaveholders who would hammer nails into a hogshead and stuff helpless slaves inside the barbaric contraption. They would then push the barrels down steep hills and watch from afar as enslaved individuals tumbled down, often to their deaths. The barrel of nails was used on plantations in the southern states, especially for those accused of attempting to escape or showing signs of rebellion. The combination of physical injury and psychological terror made it a particularly feared method of discipline. Enslaved individuals subjected to this punishment experienced a deep fear of defiance, knowing that any act of rebellion would be met with overwhelming violence. The horrors of these punishments stand as a grim testament to the cruelty and inhumanity that characterized the institution of slavery. Each method of torture, from the iron mask to the cold cell, reveals the lengths to which slave owners would go to maintain control and suppress rebellion. These stories, as painful as they are, remind us of the resilience of those who suffered under such brutal conditions and the importance of remembering and acknowledging this dark chapter in history. Reflecting on these brutal practices, it is crucial to honor the memory of those who endured them and to ensure that such atrocities are never forgotten. By understanding the depths of cruelty that enslaved Black people faced, we can work towards a future where such inhumanity is relegated to the past and every person is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve. If this journey into the dark history of slavery has resonated with you, please share this story to spread awareness. Subscribe to our channel for more insightful explorations of Black history, and let us continue this important conversation together, striving for a world where justice and compassion prevail.